सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. All right, so we were on verse 20. Can everybody check their mute and unmute and just keep it Kamla ji, you have to mute. Hari Om. And I think everybody else, I think Asha ji has to mute. And then whenever you want to talk, unmute. Yeah, very good. Now we are good. All right. So we finished verse 19 and we are on verse 20 of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3. So whoever is... Oh, I just want to... Here, my brother decided to join, okay? Hari Om. And this is a great, great honor for me because he's my older brother. And he's the one who brought me to this country. He took care of me. He got me married. So he has a huge significance in my life. And I am so honored that he decided to join the class. There's my brother Hulas. And these are all my friends here.
Let me say hi.
And I'm just thrilled. So... Anyway, we just started the class, and Hulas, for you it may be a little bit confusing because we're in the middle of it, but let's see. So we did verse 19, and verse 19, Krishna Bhagwan came to the conclusion for Arjun by giving all the logic that, in the translation here for verse 19, so that we have a connection today, therefore always perform action which should be done without attachment, for by performing action without attachment, man attains the supreme. And you know that how many logics and everything he gave about, we won't go into it right today, but basically the conclusion he came that Arjun should perform action, his daily duties and the special duties, without attachment. That was the main thing. And performing action without attachment, man attains the supreme. Supreme is that highest knowledge he's talking about, okay? So that's where we were. And now, Krishna Bhagwan does not leave any stone unturned, okay? So he's like, he wants to give every possible logic because his goal is to get Arjun to fight, number one, but with proper understanding and spiritually progress. That was his goal, to get the highest, to get self-realization. So now, Krishna Bhagwan ने तो ये सारी बातें बोल दी, मगर अब अर्जुन के मन में ये प्रश्न है कि ये क्या कृष्ण भगवान ने कोई थियरी खुद ही बनाई है कि ये कोई टेस्टेड थियरी भी है, okay? So Krishna Bhagwan तो he's a Trikaldarshi, he understands Arjun's question, even though Arjun may not physically ask that question. So now Krishna Bhagwan is going to give an example in the history that, hey, there are people who are in a similar situation like you and who did the same thing, who did not drop their karma just to sit and meditate, but they actually continuously did the karma with detachment, okay? And they attain the highest and they attain self-realization. So that's where the verse 20 is. So I'm going to just chant the verse and just tell the Sanskrit meaning and then we will go over it. Everybody has that verse 20? Karmanaiva hi samsiddhim astita janakadayah lokasangrahamevapi sampashyan kartumarhasi. So karmana here, everybody knows karmana is action. Eva is only. He verily. Samsiddhim, perfection. The word is siddhi. Samsiddhim is true perfection. Asthitaha is attained. Jankadeha is Janak and others. So he's giving, everybody knows Raja Janak, right? Sita ji's father. Uh, so Janak and others. Loka Sangraha, this is a very loaded word and we will go more into it. Protection of the masses, but it has a lot more meaning to it, and I will go into it, what it means. Eva P is only. Sampashyan is having a view. Kartum, to perform. Arhasi, thou should. Okay? So here the main words are, I was talking about Loka Sangraha. Loka Sangraha means integration. But in what context integration? Integration of people means harmony in the universe. So harmony is more like when people become better, they care about each other and care about society, the main goal of all that yagna spirit. So when you work in a certain mode, it creates harmony around you. And if everybody does, that's what is Loka Sangraha. And then Loka Sangraha also comes under a context that, okay, if somebody becomes self-realized, they have no other duty left because they attain the highest. You got the highest, you don't need to worry about anything else. But they still work in the world because they are doing Loka Sangraha. Because their motivation becomes different. They do it out of love, out of care, they enjoy doing it, and they want whatever they have achieved, they want everybody to achieve. So, that's why this Loka Sangraha word is going to come, and you all have to remember this word. And the other words over here are karman eva, meaning only by action. That's another very important word over here, only by action, because Arjun wanted to run away from the war. Because remember he said that if through meditation I can get self-realization, why should I fight? So here he's saying, no, there is another path. By action you can get this. Okay? And by action there are many other advantages of doing action, because prosperity, you develop, people around you develop, the world develops and all that, and you get self-realization. So that's why he's saying that sirf karm karne se bhi ye mil sakta hai. So that's why it is a very powerful word over here. And Janakadaya means Janak and others. So Janak is just one example, and there are others also. And then I think Swamiji had mentioned another person over here when we read his, that from another Upanishad they have a Ashwapati, another person who did the same thing, And then, so Krishna Bhagavan proves that this theory has been tested before, okay? And he gives this example of this realized person, which Arjun also knew the whole story of Janak. And if you have seen Ramayana and all that, unko Videha bhi bolte the, right? Videha means the person who doesn't live in body consciousness, who actually lives in that spirit, So we all know about that. And then what did Janak Raja do? He was a king before. Most of you kind of know the story, but basically he was a king. But he had this quest in him, right? And that famous story, I think Joe always talks about that story, that he got the dream, Raja Janak, that he had was fighting in a war and the enemy took over and he had nothing to eat, and then he was eating this khichdi and some big bird came and hit his bowl and the khichdi fell on ground and he was dying of hunger or something. And then suddenly he woke up from that dream and he's like, oh my God, I'm a king, and how come I'm getting this dream? And that dream was so real to him, because we know sometimes some dreams that most of the dream while we are dreaming looks real, and we have studied all that, why and all that. But he had a question, is that dream real or is this real? So then he approaches, Ashtavakra appears over there. He had that quest and he could not drop it from his mind. Ashtavakra came in his life, and Ashtavakra said, this dream and this world both are unreal. Real is that consciousness. So in other words, he took him to the path of spirituality through that quest. But that doesn't mean that Janak Maharaj dropped his job as a king, went in the jungle and just sat there to meditate. He continued. as a king until his last breath or whatever, though the story goes. So basically, that's what he's saying, that he continued. He was a king before. He went on the spiritual path. He started doing his actions without detachment. And, then it culminated into Jnana Yoga. And then he, meditated and he got that. So by karma alone, so fulfilling his constant duty, he did that, And another important thing is what Shastras say, when you are ready, that's when the teacher or a guru or somebody appears. And this is a whole scheme of the consciousness only working. Because sometimes we get very anxious. I want to follow this guru. I want to go here. I want to go there. And they say, when you are ready, it will appear in front of you. The guru himself will come. You don't need to go anywhere. Some inspiration will come from somewhere and you will connect to it. So we have to make ourselves ready and have that deep quest in us. That's when it happens. So that's another thing that happened to Janak, that the Ashtavakra came in his life. And so now some people may doubt, okay, Janak, we don't know whether Janak is self-realized or not. Remember this discussion we had with Kamlaji a couple of weeks ago. Hey, the falana self-realized hai ya nahi, aur humne kaha hame kya pata, right? Koi doubt bhi karega कि Janak hai self-realized nahi hai, we don't know. But we know that through his attempt, he progressed in spirituality, going to that path. And that is good enough, even if you don't believe that he got self-realized. But his path is a very noble path, and it's a great example for everybody. That, you don't need to drop anything to do that. So that's what it is. And another reason why Krishna Bhagwan chose Janak Maharaj to give that example, Janak Maharaj is a Kshatriya, and so is Arjun. Because when you give example, you give that what will, connect in my mind. If you give some vague example that I cannot connect with, then it's not going to do any good for me. So Janak Maharaj was a Kshatriya, so is Arjun. And he's saying that, look, what Janak Maharaj did, you are Kshatriya, you follow your duty too. Because he belonged to this kingly family whose responsibility was to protect the masses and have a good leadership. And that's exactly what they were doing. But Arjun got into delusion. He started thinking of me and mine. That's why all this depression, doubt, and everything happened. So that's what he's talking about. That's why he chose Janak Maharaj as. And the other very important one, which I already said, but I will elaborate a little more. Here Krishna Bhagwan said, Karmane eva means only through karma. Janak Maharaj reached the highest. That's a very, very powerful statement, and it diffuses all other arguments that, karma yoga cannot do it, and you need karma yoga will automatically take you to that knowledge and the self-realization if you do it correctly with detachment. So that's what karmane eva. And then the other word, I didn't go through it, is samsiddhim. Samsiddhim meaning attaining that higher state of siddhi or self-realization. That's the word over here. So by action alone, you will reach that highest. Okay, samsiddhim is the highest. So he's very clearly telling you about that. So, and then what is that highest state? When you realize that you are actually the consciousness and the body, mind, and intellect are just your equipments. That's the final stage. We kind of intellectually know it by now studying for so long, but we don't have the experience yet. But that when we start actually experiencing and living like that man of self-realization, Sthita Prajna that we studied, that is the goal. So this will take you to the highest according to Krishna Bhagwan. Okay? And so now he proved that this is not a new theory. And now suppose that somebody says, has a little, not should I say arrogance, but say, okay, I'm already self-realized. Why do I need to do this? Then Krishna Bhagwan says, hey, even if you have reached the highest, you do it for loka sangraha. Okay? That's why this word is so important. And Loka Sangraha, that, let's go a little more detail into it. What Loka Sangraha? Sangraha, because a lot of you are Hindi speaking, means to sangraha karna, kisi cheez ko jodna. Usko sangraha bolte hain, okay? So Loka Sangraha means masses ko jodna. Masses को जोड़ना मतलब दिल से जोड़ना, that's a more important thing. Harmony create करना. So वो अपने humans के लिए बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है harmony create करना. It starts from the family. Family में अगर disharmony होएगी तो you know how much havoc, will never be in peace. So it's all our duties, and the more people study this knowledge, the more harmony will happen, right? So, but at least if we have studied, we can do extra effort to do the harmony. Then the society, and then the nature, and universe, and the country, everything. So what is this? Little bit more about integration. Why it is required, especially in humans, it is very, very important, because if humans are not integrated and harmonized and in that mode, we do a lot of atrocities to animals. So for the whole earth as such, human integration is, because the reason I'm saying that, because animal kingdom, if you leave them alone to themselves, they'll be totally fine. They don't need us at all. But we are the one who get into their world and mess with them and do all that, for our own enjoyment, whatever, So they are saying that, hey, for the whole world to be happy, human integration is very important. That's why we need to do this, our duty to integrate the humans, okay? So because when we are disturbed and we are upset, everything gets upset, okay? So that's why what Krishna Bhagavan is telling, Arjun, you work for Lok Sangraha, okay? You see the example of Janak, and you work to integrate, and this fighting the war is a step towards the harmony, okay, that's why you have to work. You may hate your duty, you may not like it, but you're doing it for Lok Sangraha. See, the most important thing, because not all our duties are great. In my house, I don't like to clean the toilets and do the dishes, but if I don't do it, it'll be a disaster in the house, right? So that's why there are certain duties. Arjun's duty was a horrible duty. His duty was, he had to kill his grandfather and teacher whom he absolutely loved. So from the worldly perspective, it looks terrible. But from the Lok Sangraha aspect, even if you don't like, I don't want to do the duty. Some might say, I don't want self-realization. I don't want anything. Fine, don't get anything. Do it for Lok Sangraha. Okay? Because that is kind of very important thing to do. So that's where this verse is, this Lok Sangraha is, okay? And one second. With my one hand, it's a little bit difficult. Okay. And then what happens is that it is also the responsibility of people who are in Arjun's position to do this Lok Sangraha, because there are some people in special positions in society, and he was one of them. So it is a responsibility for his younger generation. And that verse is going to be more detailed in the next verse, that if Arjun doesn't do his responsibility, it is going to leave a horrible example for the next generation. Well, chhod ke bhago, if I don't like my duty, I don't need to do it. That kind of vichardhara will come, which is really going to be very detrimental. So the more responsibility, the more higher position you have, the more responsibility you need. That's what that he's talking about over here, okay? And I think that one of the Swami said that there is a very famous movie. I have not watched that movie, but it seems Batman there is this big sentence: "Great power, with great power comes great responsibility." Whoever is in Batman, it seems to be that huge thing. So I thought it was kind of interesting. So with that, we will read Swamiji's commentary. Anybody has any question on whatever I said, or comment, or any other point in this? Whatever just discussed now. Meena
My
ji.
own, yes. I was just wondering because we all along have discussed that Karma Yoga is a path, is a path which leads. And here we are saying, are we saying it is that you attain the moksha?
Okay.
Because I think it purifies it.
Very good question.
Purification itself will do something else. It will clarify, it'll take you towards meditation, etc. It'll take you towards that. So it's a step, a big step.
See, true.
Is it a moksha? Because, when we talk about such things, so I wonder whether, when you said this will take you, so I'm wondering.
Okay, the very good question. Swamiji explained this like, when we, in Mahabharat war, Krishna Bhagwan told Arjun that, or he told the whole world actually, I'm not going to pick a weapon. I will, either you choose my army or you choose me. Arjun chose him. Then he became his Sarathi. Because it's like, okay, if you're not going to use a weapon, what job can you do now, to be with me? Oh, I got an idea. I'll become your Sarathi. And Arjun was hesitant. It's like a very big guy says, I'll become your driver. And you say, oh, I respect you so much. You can't become my driver. And he said, no, that's okay. Why is that important? Because Krishna, सारथी कौन होता है? जो रथ को सही दिशा में लेके जाता है, right? So सही दिशा अगर मिल गई, हम अपने लक्ष्य पे पहुंच जाएंगे. That's what this connotation over here is. So Swamiji used to give an example. When somebody said, चाय बना के लाओ, okay? हम सबसे पहले क्या करते हैं? पानी चढ़ाते हैं. हाँ, चाय बनी नहीं है और हम बोलते हैं चाय बन रही है. लेकिन चाय थोड़ी बन रही है, पानी उबल रहा है. अभी हमको पत्ती भी डालनी है अभी, लेकिन आई ऑलरेडी नो द सिस्टम. चाय बन के आएगी ही और तुम पियोगे. So it is assumed that when you do the karma yoga with a right attitude, with detachment, doing your duties, and those 5-6 things we discussed, prasada buddhi, asanga buddhi, all those things, just bring all those previous classes in. गोल तो आना ही है और वो गोल उसी दिशा में आएगा जो आप बोल रहे हो. फिर ज्ञान योगा अपने, we will start understanding what the soul is and everything, and then we will automatically slide into meditation. Automatically we will reach there. That's what it is.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other person? No? Oh, Atma ji came on.
No.
Hariom Atma ji. So good to see you.
Yes, I have a question from you.
Yes, Atma ji, of course.
How are your fingers? When can you refer me?
I'm much better, Atma ji. Thank you so much.
He said, when can you tupper me?
You can,
Give him a date.
when can you refer me?
When can I do what?
Tupper. You want a tupper?
Chamat.
Oh my God! Are you saying I need a chamat from you? you are our senior over here. I'm a baby in front of you, Atma ji. No, I appreciate it so much. I'm so glad, Atma ji, that you came. Okay. So, any other question besides Atma ji's question? Shall we go forward and read? Okay, my volunteer today. Who's going to read?
Which page it is.
Oh, great. Sheila ji. Yes.
Okay.
Everybody hear me?
Sorry, what?
Everybody can hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Okay. Janka and other attained perfection early through action alone. Even with a view of protecting the message, you should perform action. Thus, the Viking of yore, such as Janka and Ashpati, had tried to attain perfection, samsiddhi, by path of action. They were men of right understanding. As they tried to liberate themselves, right actions performed in a spirit of detachment and self-dedication. They had set an example to the world by their achievement through an immaculate life to service.
So
Should I
here he's
go
just
or
saying, yeah, I just wanted to, make sure that everybody is on the same wavelength. So now that I explained everything, now he's talking about that. Look how Janak and Ashwapati, he gave another example, and it seems that this is from Chandogya Upanishad. They tried to attain perfection, samsiddhi, by the path of action. So here is a great example from the history. And by right action, okay, that's what he's saying. Understanding is they try liberate through the right action performed, and the two things he talked about: spirit of detachment and self-dedication. And those are the things, remember, that we had in the yagna spirit. And you can add a sacrifice also. When you sacrifice something, you're self-dedicated and detachment. Those are the things. They had set an example to the world for their immaculate service. They are the example for us to follow. Okay, go ahead.
there
Sheila.
are people who should I go?
Mhm.
Okay. There are people who question whether Janka was spiritually perfect or not. There are many schools of Vedantis who but Janka could not have been perfect. Even accepting that he was not perfect, appreciate how he tried to purify himself through selfless activity.
So here आपकी थोड़ी आवाज ब्रेक हो रही है, मगर it's okay, it's not very long, so
It's okay?
yeah,
Okay.
but I'll just say it so that if somebody missed something. So basically, remember
Okay.
I said that some people believe कि oh maybe Janka was not self-realized because जो क्या बोलते हैं, कोई खोट निकालना चाहता है ना किसी में, वो तो निकाल ही लेगा. भगवान भी सामने आ जाए, कृष्ण भगवान भी आ गए तो भी दुर्योधन खोट ही निकाल रहा था. There are going to be people who will say, oh, he's not, or he's saying that, okay, just assume he's not. That's not important. But we have to appreciate how he purified himself. Everybody respected him at that time. Even Ramchandraji respected his opinions, And so he tried to purify himself with selfless activity. So that's why we need to do that. So that's what he's saying. Okay. Sheila ji padhiye.
Okay, Krishna means the Arjun too, a prince of birth and one who has taken upon himself the entire responsibility of mobilizing and fighting the war. Should respect prarabdha and act diligently without running away from the battlefield as he had earlier intended to do. Oh, sorry. This is the only method by which he can gain complete vasana execution in himself.
Vasana exhaustion, actually. Exhaustion means to khatam kar dena.
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So basically he's saying that we have to respect our prarabdha. And that has come, when swadharma, remember swadharma? So there are certain things that we are born into a certain family, we are, certain kind of duties just fall into our lap. We have no choice, right? We don't say, hey, not everybody gives a prescription कि मेरे को ऐसी ड्यूटी मिले जी. फिर तो सभी एक ही तरह की बहुत अच्छी ड्यूटी मांगी. It falls into our lap, a prarabdha. That's where we have to respect our prarabdha. We have to believe in something higher, that hey, that higher is giving me this. I have to respect that. Okay? It's very, very important, because in the beginning, when we don't study all these things, we always, oh, why poor me kind of thing, Now is no poor me. It's like, this is my prarabdha, I gotta face it. So he's saying that Arjun was born in a family that this was his job, and he has to do it with dignity, and he has to accept it, because he was trying to run away. Okay? I don't like my job. And Krishna Bhagwan is telling him reasons not to run away. One is to, respect the higher, to give you this because you are fit for it. That's what he's talking about. And same thing with Janaka. Janak, he did not run away from his responsibility. Simultaneously, he's doing it. Both the things. And you can do it too. That's what. Padhiye, Sheila ji.
Okay. One as a king had a greater responsibility towards the community than any other member. He is a sorry. He is a leader of men, and so much depends on him and his activities. Therefore, it was his duty that he should do his post and work diligently. A cripple will never grow in a desert. It is a nature's law that every living creature finds itself in the most conducive outer world condition. Thus, viewed because of the very fact that he had manifested himself as a son of his father in the family of kings. Nature and judged that the most conducive circumstances life for Arjun were the life of prince, which is daring, dangerous, fighting enemies, and generally ordering peacefully and progressive growth for the society.
So here again, the same idea is that he was born in as a king, and king meaning in that family who had the responsibility, and he should and here Swamiji gave a very interesting example. A creeper will never go in a desert. That means, and there's one app called Geeta 365. The Houston Chinmaya Mission launched it, and I'm actually working on the Hindi translation for it. Beautiful app. Whoever has the phone that can download it, please do. If you have the capacity in your phone, because sometimes people say too many apps and all, but this is worth having. Delete few others and get this. And in that, Swamiji had very interestingly said that he wanted to run away, right? So hypothetically, Krishna Bhagwan says, ठीक है, तू भागना चाहता है, चल मैं तुझे हिमालय पे ले चलता हूँ. फिर उसको वो ड्राइव करता है हिमालय के ऊपर और फिर छोड़ देता है. तो फिर अर्जुन क्या करेगा वहाँ पे? वो मेडिटेट कुछ करने वाला नहीं है. हाँ? बैठेगा और बोलेगा, ओ दोज रास्कल्स, आई हैड द चांस एंड आई रैन अवे. एंड फिर उसको गुस्सा आएगा, फिर वो एक तलवार लेके पेड़ ही काटना शुरू कर देगा वहाँ पे. बिकॉज उसके नेचर में है फाइट. Okay, fight, but he has to take that energy, put it at the right cause, because he was born in that family to fight against injustice, to fight against all that. But temporarily he got deluded by his moha, means thinking about himself only, selfish ego aa gaya uska thoda. My father, my grandfather, my teacher, he forgot the bigger picture and all that. So that's why he's saying that whatever his nature is, अपने नेचर से कोई भाग नहीं सकता. In fact, like Swamiji said another very interesting thing. He's saying that, like the administrator and the politicians and all that, according to the Shastras, they have to have certain qualities to become that, right? They need to have courage, strength, certain abilities to analyze and run the country and have a lot of sattvic and rajasic in them. Okay, lot less of tamasic. Suppose some businessman becomes a president. वो खुद का ही business चालू कर देगा. I'm not gonna, no, we don't discuss politics here, but so वो उसका जो nature है ना, वो जाएगा ही नहीं. कोई पता कोई किसी बिजनेसमैन को जेल में पहुंच गया तो वहां भी बिजनेस चालू कर देगा वो, बिकॉज उसके घुसा हुआ है उसके नेचर में. अर्जुन के नेचर में ये क्षत्रियपन घुसा हुआ था. He has to use that for the growth of the society, for himself, and reach that. That's what. So whatever nature we have, don't fight with it. That's what Krishna Bhagwan is saying. Use it as a right tool and you can reach the highest. That's what he's talking about. The whole gist of this. Okay. We finished this verse. Any other question, comment on this? Or you want to add, somebody wants to add something to it? You can unmute or just do this.
Yeah, according to my book,
Yes,
this
Neha.
thing is talking about Janak. Like he was also doing his duty, worldly duty as a king, and king has a lot of duties, but he was also a self-realized person. So that shows that even we say, oh, we don't have time for God, we don't have time for meditation, we are so engrossed in our worldly duties. So that's why he is given the example of Janak, that you have to perform your action, and so that if you don't do action, then how will you be able to tell your subjects what to do? So you have to, same thing as you are a king. Arjuna was also a prince, so he has to, if he doesn't do his duty or his action, then what example is he going to give to his subjects?
Yep.
So that's one point. And then even the great yogis, they are so self-help, they know how to get in
to take the life force and get into meditation, but they also do action because they have to teach their disciples that, without action, you need to have a clean environment, you need to have the right diet, you need to do everything in order for you to have a good body, so that you can also have do good action, and also you'll be able to, when your body is in harmonious state only, you can also do meditation. So that's why this action is very important, the right action.
Yeah, all those points very valid, and they are completely in line with what we are studying. So very good points. Anybody else? Shall I go to the next one? Meena ji, you have something to say? Can hear you.
So just gonna say, Sneh said everything right, but it is, as you mentioned, and as we go along, is how we do the action is very important.
Yes.
So that's what all the gist is about, is how we perform the action, and what is our swadharma, go with that, perform the action that
Yes.
way.
I think what Sneha was bringing, and that's a very valid point, that many times, it's like whatever we are studying and learning, we have to take it as a holistic thing, right? Everything, we have to remember everything we learned in the past. Sometimes, in our daily hustle and bustle, we don't even give time to study these things. Because जब बुढ़े हो जाएंगे तब करेंगे ये वो करके, और अभी मेरे को बहुत काम है फलाना फलाना, we don't even have it, because we थोड़ा बहुत तो स्टडी करना पड़ेगा so that we know what is the right action. अगर हमको पहले ही सारा right action मालूम होता तो हमको फिर भगवत गीता पढ़ने की क्या जरूरत है, right? Like there are some people who are like from when they are born so sattvic कि वो गीता वगैरह का ज्ञान ऑलरेडी उनके दिमाग में रहता है, सनातन धर्म. But people like us, we actually need to, because we are conditioned by the world so much, with wrong things. So to put it at the right perspective, that little study, little meditation is very important. And that's what I think, that's a very valid point, that we need to take out some time to do that. That's how I'm interpreting that, yeah. Any other person? Okay, so I'm going to go to next verse. Verse 21. So now he's going to talk about a great human psychology over here in verse 21, okay? Which applies to everybody. And when I was reading these two verses, I said, Krishna, the thought that came to my mind, Krishna Bhagavan is not only teaching Arjun the highest knowledge, but he's not ignoring the world by any means. All the nuances of the world and everything is addressing. So that, because kabhi na खूब ऊंची बातें करो, self-realization, meditation, falana, dikda, and other, I got to pay my bills tomorrow, okay? Or I have to take care of my house. He's taking every human psychological aspect also, because he wants Arjun to understand everything from every perspective, okay? So that's what it is. All right. So that's this verses. Everybody has verse 21? एक second. Yeah. Yad yadacharati shreshtaha tadevetaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokastadanuvartate. Yat means whatever, so jo bhi kuch ho, whatever, okay? Acharati does. यहाँ पर आचरती means आचरण. If you know a little bit of Hindi, you will understand. उसका आचरण कैसा है जी? Means action. Okay? That is acharati. Shreshtaha. Everybody knows Shreshta. Great men. Men that we look up to. किसी का ना ये है, unmute नहीं हुआ. I think Uma ji को mute करना.
Akmal and Vandana need to mute themselves.
Yeah, please mute yourself because the background noise is coming. So,
Uma, please mute yourself. Thank you. Vandana ji, please mute yourself.
Where is Vandana? I cannot see.
Vandana
Oh yeah,
is
there.
on my-
Now it's muted. Okay. So Shreshta is the best. Tat that. Eva is only. Itaraha the other. Janaha people. Saha is he, the great man. Yat is what? Pramanam. This is a very important word here. स्टैंडर्ड, यहाँ लिखा है स्टैंडर्ड और अथॉरिटी और डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन. हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना इसका प्रमाण क्या है जी. प्रमाण मीन्स हम किसी चीज़ को एक ऑथेंटिक सोर्स मानते हैं. वो just remember that context and I will tell you where it's coming, where it's fitting in this verse. Kurute is does, loka is the world, log, people, loka. Tat is that, anuvartate, follows. So basically what he's going to explain over here is, it's a human psychology. And when we look at ourselves and the people around us and everything, you will understand the psychology very well. जो भी श्रेष्ठ पुरुष करते हैं ना, दूसरे लोग उसको फॉलो करते हैं, उसकी नकल करते हैं. That's what he's telling you. So ये कोई बोलेगा नहीं जी मैं तो बहुत इंडिपेंडेंट हूँ, मैं तो किसी की नकल नहीं करती हूँ. हम ना अनकॉन्शियसली लिटरली करते हैं. And forget about unconsciously. I mean, I look at certain things, अगर किसी ने कोई खरीदा कोई चीज़, and I say, I also want to buy the same thing. Why? Because that person does so much research about it. Like my brother is here now. My brothers, if they do something, I don't even have to think twice. Because they do so much research. My older brother, he does so much research. If he says it is good, blindly I will do it. It's a human psychology. Because we care about them, we put them in a high pedestal, so we just follow them. Okay? So that's the psychology he's talking about. And the other word is acharan. Acharan here is a very loaded word. We do what they do. We really don't do what they say. And this goes so true for the parent and children. तुम 100 बार किसी बच्चे को बोलो ऐसा करो ऐसा करो ऐसा करो, वो शायद नहीं करेगा, पर तुम्हारी नकल करते हुए वो करेगा. So there is a very famous incident with Chinmayananji that we quote with the children, or with the mothers actually, not the children, sorry, the adults. So one mother went to Chinmayananji and said, Swamiji, my son does this and that's a ulta jo bhi, like how we have to deal with our teenagers and all that, or young children. They don't listen to us, blah, blah, blah. So, and do certain wrong things. And he said, तो मैं अपने बेटे को कैसे fix करूं? क्या करूं? तो वो स्वामी जी ने क्या बोला मालूम? तुम्हें उसको फिक्स करने की जरूरत नहीं, तुम अपने आप को फिक्स कर लो, वो अपने आप हो जाएगा. Because he said, तुम जो करोगी वो करेगा वो. So that's what it is, that they really do what we do, not what we say. So अगर अर्जुन बड़े बड़े डिस्कोर्स देगा, कुछ करेगा ना, वो कोई इतना नहीं सुनेगा, लेकिन अर्जुन जैसा एक्शन करेगा ना, वैसा वो करेंगे लोग. That's the point he's telling over here. So in our life, we do that. Everybody does that. And that is why people who are in certain positions, when they know that other people are looking up to them, their responsibility becomes more to do the right action. मेरा मन नहीं है करने का, तो भी मैं कर रही हूँ. People who have businesses, they know if you don't go on time, all your employees will be late. Nobody going to do any work. They see you work hard, they will start doing it. Or if a teacher comes late, so students अपना मजे से आ रहे हैं आधा घंटा late. So it's a natural thing, right? That if you are in that position, whether you like it or not, you do it and others are going to follow you. That's the psychology. He's telling Arjun, and through Arjun us, that. And then the other thing that one of the Swami brought, this such an interesting point. He said, हम लोग को लगेगा कि किसी को लगेगा, चलो हम लोग को नहीं, किसी को लगेगा, oh, I'm like good for nothing, nobody looks up to me. Saying, you will be surprised. Somebody does look up to you. Your own children, when they are young, they look up to you. For, when the children are little, Mata Pita are like their gods, So there's always somebody who looks up to you. उन्होंने तो ऐसा जोक भी मारा उस स्वामी ने, बोले कि कोई भिखारी होएगा ना, वो भीख मांग रहा है, राइट? दूसरे लोग दूसरे भिखारी बोलेंगे क्या अच्छी भीख मांगता है यार, हम लोग को भी सिखा दे. Looking up to it. He was just joking, but basically he's trying to say everybody in this world, has a certain responsibility to act, because somebody is going to follow you. And that's why. So that's where this whole idea of this is coming. And then the higher the person, more people are going to follow. Okay, so अगर higher person ने एक कोई चीज पकड़ ली because they think this is authentic, कोई शास्त्र पकड़ा या कोई certain books or whatever, and if he thinks this is a good praman, remember the word praman is over here, उसने अगर उस बात को प्रमाण मान लिया, authentic source मान लिया, बाकी लोग भी मान लेंगे उसको, बिना सोचे समझे मान लेंगे. And then this copying business is, अमेरिका में तो फैन क्लब, ओ माय गॉड, एक जन कुछ पहनना शुरू करेगा तो फैशन ही बन जाता है वो. These are all simple things, but it has a deep meaning behind it. I'm just giving a little gross example in a sense कि भाई कपड़े वपड़े कॉपी कर लो and all that, वो तो हम देखते ही है, teenagers and all, adults भी करते हैं, forget about teenager. वो बॉलीवुड में कोई साड़ी आती है, everybody in the wedding is wearing the same sari. So, but he's talking more about that internal thinking also we follow. So that's why it becomes Arjun's responsibility to do the right thing, because people are going to follow him. And let's see if I missed any point. Yeah, and the other thing over here is